I met Alex when we were 14. It wasn't one of those movie-like love at first sight moments. We were both awkward, braces-wearing teenagers who got paired up for a history project. I remember thinking he was too quiet, maybe even a little arrogant, but then I caught him sneaking chips into his backpack for me because he knew I'd skipped lunch. From that day on, something clicked. We went from classmates to friends, from friends to something that didn't need a label. By the time we graduated high school, everyone knew we were Alex and Marissa. People said our names like they were one word, as if we were a permanent unit. University came, and we survived it together. Late night study sessions, cheap takeout dinners, celebrating each other's successes and holding each other through the failures. We made plans, real plans, the little white house by the lake, a golden retriever, to kids. He even joked that we'd name the dog Taco just to confuse people. Alex wasn't perfect. He had this habit of shutting down when stressed, disappearing into his own head for days. But he always came back, always, until one day, he did. In single quotes, T.it was an ordinary Tuesday. We kissed goodbye in the morning. I was heading to work. He was supposed to meet a friend for coffee. By the time I got home, his things were gone. His phone was off, his social media deleted. No note, no message. The man I had spent nearly a decade loving had vanished. At first, I thought it was a mistake, maybe some emergency, maybe he was hurt. But days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and the silence became louder than any answer could be. People told me to move on, that maybe it was for the best. But they didn't see the way he looked at me, or the promises he whispered at night. You don't just throw that away, or so I thought, because in my heart, I knew something must have happened, something big, and I was going to find out. No matter how much it hurt. The first week after Alex disappeared, I lived on autopilot. Go to work, come home, cry in the shower, stare at the ceiling until sunrise, repeat. But then, on the 9th day, I found something. I had been cleaning out the closet not because I was ready to move on, but because I couldn't stand the smell of his cologne still clinging to the air. That's when I noticed it. His leather duffel bag, the one he always took whenever we traveled. Inside there were 3 things: a passport expired for over 2 years, an envelope with $2,000 in cash, a single Polaroid of us. But my face had been torn in half. I remember just sitting on the floor, the photo shaking in my hands. Alex was not the kind of person to destroy pictures. He kept receipts from our first movie date. For God's sake, something about it made my skin crawl. I called his best friend, Tyler, who I'd known for years. Tyler picked up on the second ring, his voice unusually tense. Marissa, I can't talk right now. Just don't look for him. And then he hung up. I stared at my phone for a long time, replaying those words. Don't look for him. The problem was, Tyler might as well have told me to burn the world to the ground, because from that moment, I couldn't stop looking. The next lead came 2 days later. I received an email from an unknown address. No subject line, no message body, just an attachment. A screenshot of Alex sitting in a restaurant I didn't recognize, holding hands with a woman I had never seen before. The timestamp was from 3 weeks before he left. I didn't know whether to scream, cry, or throw up. But one thing was certain: whatever I thought I knew about Alex was a lie. I spent the next week combing through every detail I could find. Tyler wouldn't answer my calls, and the unknown email address refused to respond. It was like Alex had evaporated from the world, leaving nothing but breadcrumbs I wasn't sure I wanted to follow. Then I found her. Her name was Leela. I stumbled across her when I cross-referenced the restaurant from the screenshot. Social media photos placed her at every event Alex had attended over the past 5 years, always coincidentally in the background, smiling, pretending to be someone's friend. But digging deeper, I found comments from people who knew them, both in college, notes about Leela being possessive, manipulative, and having an uncanny influence over Alex. I felt sick. Why hadn't he ever told me about her? Why hadn't I noticed? I tried to track Leela down, but her online presence was heavily curated. No phone number, no personal email, nothing. But then I remembered something Tyler had said during one of our late-night hangouts years ago. Something about Alex getting caught up in the wrong crowd during his first year of college. I found myself in the university archives, digging through old event records, student club memberships, even dorm photos. And there she was, always near Alex, in every candid shot. Her smile was wide, almost too perfect. She didn't look threatening at first glance, but there was something in her posture, the way she tilted her head at him, that made my stomach twist. By the third day of this obsessive search, I realized I had a pattern. Leela was in his life whenever something significant happened, whenever Alex seemed distant. And now, after he disappeared, it made me wonder, had she been orchestrating this all along? My phone buzzed. Unknown number. My heart froze. Stop digging. You don't know what you're getting into. No signature. No clue. Just that chilling message. I froze for what felt like hours. Every instinct screamed at me to quit, to run, to forget. But I couldn't. Not now. The next lead came from an old friend of Alex's who I hadn't spoken to in years. Jamie was hesitant, evasive, but finally confessed. Alex was involved in something he wouldn't talk about. Leela knew about it. She made him do things. What things? I asked, voice barely above a whisper. Jamie hesitated. I don't know all of it, but whatever it was, it changed him, made him someone else. He tried to tell you maybe, but he couldn't. She was dangerous, Marissa. More dangerous than anyone realizes. The room spun. I had trusted Alex completely. Every word, every plan, every dream we shared, and now, everything was in question. I realized that this wasn't just about a disappearance. This was about a manipulation so deep I couldn't yet comprehend it. And as I stared at my laptop, tracing Leela's network, I felt the cold grip of fear tighten around me. She had been in his life before me, and perhaps she had been the reason he left. I knew I had to confront her. Not knowing where Alex was, not knowing what had happened to him, I had to face Leela to uncover the truth. I prepared my notes, screenshots, and every piece of evidence I had gathered. Jenna, as always, was my anchor. You're not doing this alone, she said. But I could feel the weight of isolation pressing on me. The deeper I dug, the more I realized I wasn't just chasing Alex anymore. I was stepping into a world I didn't fully understand, and every step forward made it more dangerous. The next morning, I traced Leela to a small cafe on the edge of the city, a place that didn't match the elegance of her social media. As I approached, I saw her sitting alone, sipping a latte, and smiling like the sun didn't have a shadow. But I knew shadows followed her. Taking a deep breath, I pushed the door open. The bell above jingled, and in that moment, the game changed. Leela looked up, her eyes met mine, and I felt it, the calm before the storm, the silence before the chaos. She knew I was coming, and I was terrified, but I had no choice. I had to find Alex, no matter the cost.
Subscribe to the channel and like this video.
The cafe smelled faintly of roasted coffee and old wood. I spotted Leela immediately, poised, flawless, every movement deliberate. Her smile didn't falter when our eyes met, but it didn't reach her eyes. Marissa, she said, voice sweet, but calculated. I was wondering when you'd show up. I didn't respond. I just sat across from her, letting the silence stretch. So, you want to talk about Alex? She asked casually, stirring her coffee. I studied her face, searching for any hint of remorse. But all I saw was control, a predator cloaked in civility. Yes, I said finally. I want to know why he disappeared, where he is, and what your role is in all of this. Leela tilted her head, as if she were amused. My role? You know exactly what I mean, I snapped. He vanished, and I have reason to believe you had something to do with it. She laughed softly, not mockingly, but with a precision that made my skin crawl. You think this is about me? She asked. Alex is complicated. He made choices. You think you knew him? You barely scratched the surface of who he really is. Her words were a puzzle, dangerous, enticing, and infuriating all at once. I leaned forward. Stop playing games. Where is he? Her smile widened, almost sad this time. He's safe, for now. But you should know, Marissa, you've been looking at this backwards. The truth about Alex isn't what you think. And digging further, it might destroy him, and you. My hands trembled. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but I realized I had underestimated her. Leela didn't just have power over Alex. She had power over information, over perception, over the narrative itself. And why should I trust anything you say? I asked, voice low. Because, she said, leaning closer, if you don't, you'll never see him again. And by the time you realize it, it will be too late. I felt the weight of her words. For a moment, the cafe disappeared. There was only her presence filling the room, and the growing realization that this confrontation was not just about finding Alex. It was about surviving the maze she had built around him and me. I swallowed, trying to steady myself. Fine, I'll play your game, but I warn you I won't stop until I know the truth. Leela's eyes flickered. A hint of respect, maybe even amusement. Good, she said. I like persistence. It makes things more interesting. And in that moment, I realized the hunt was only beginning. I didn't know if I was chasing Alex, or if I was stepping directly into a trap designed to break me, but one thing was certain: I wasn't backing down. Not now, not ever. The storm had only just begun. After my meeting with Leela, I knew talking wasn't enough. Words could be twisted, lies could be masked with charm. I needed proof, something undeniable. I started with Alex's apartment. The place had been abandoned in a hurry, bills unpaid, clothes folded awkwardly, half-packed bags. But in the chaos, I found a small locked drawer in his desk. It took an hour, but I managed to pick it. Inside were folders labeled by years, neatly organized: 2017, 2018, 2019, each containing emails, notes, and photos. The first thing I saw made my stomach drop: letters from Leela, written in meticulous, almost obsessive handwriting. They weren't friendly. They were instructions, demands, and sometimes threats. You know what must be done. Do not let her find out. You belong to me until this is finished. Every step she takes closer to you is a step you must block. The phrasing was subtle, almost elegant, but the intent was terrifying. Leela had been controlling Alex's life like a puppeteer, manipulating even his smallest decisions. Then came the photos. Alex at different events, smiling, seemingly happy, but Leela was always there. Her gaze wasn't casual. She watched him like a hawk, calculating every movement, ensuring compliance. And in some pictures, Alex held envelopes, cash, or papers that seemed to come from her arrangements I had never noticed him handling before. I sat back, overwhelmed. The man I loved had never fully chosen me, not really. Every action, every plan, had been under her watchful eyes. And yet, the letters and photos also revealed moments of rebellion, small notes hidden inside envelopes, scribbled hurriedly. I can't keep doing this. I want out. I miss her. I want her, but I'm trapped. My heart ached. Alex had been fighting quietly, invisibly. He hadn't abandoned me. He had been trapped in a web I never knew existed. I realized then that confronting Leela head-on would be dangerous. She wasn't just a manipulator. She was a strategist. But I also knew I couldn't do nothing. I had to find him. The next lead came from a security camera footage from a cafe near his university. The timestamp showed Alex meeting someone in the shadows. At first glance, it looked innocent, but then I noticed Leela's signature on a bag he carried away. She had been there, orchestrating meetings, controlling even his movements without leaving obvious traces. It was clear Alex had been trying to escape, but Leela's influence was everywhere. And now, the question was, could I help him break free before it was too late? As I left the apartment, the city lights blurred. I felt a mix of fear, rage, and hope. The trail was dangerous, but for the first time in months, I felt closer to finding him. The hunt wasn't just about uncovering the truth anymore, it was about saving him. And if Leela found out I was getting closer, I knew the stakes would rise beyond anything I had imagined. I didn't know what would come next, but one thing was certain: nothing would ever be the same. I had spent days piecing together Alex's movements from emails, photos, and subtle hints left in the margins of his notes. Each clue brought me closer, but also deeper into danger. I felt like I was threading a needle through a web I barely understood. The breakthrough came from a single receipt I found in his apartment, a coffee shop, miles from the city, dated just a week before. The location was unusual. Alex never visited that area, but something about the name of the cafe rang familiar. I remembered a story he once told me about a secluded little town where he spent weekends hiking. I booked a bus ticket immediately. Every mile felt heavier than the last. Every turn of the road made my stomach knot tighter. I couldn't shake the feeling that Leela might already know I was coming. Her warnings echoed in my head: if you get too close, it will be too late. When I arrived, the town was quiet, almost unnaturally so. The cafe was small, tucked between two shuttered buildings. I stepped inside, trying to act casual, but my eyes scanned every corner. No Alex, no sign of him. Then I noticed a note pinned under the counter, in his handwriting. Marissa, if you're here, be careful. She watches everything. Trust no one. My pulse skyrocketed. He was alive. He was here. And he was warning me. I stepped outside and saw a small cabin near the edge of the woods. Smoke curled from the chimney. My heart leaped. That had to be it. That had to be where he was hiding. As I approached, I felt eyes on me. Someone was watching. My stomach sank. I ducked behind a tree, peeking around the trunk. And there she was, Leela, standing just beyond the clearing, smiling as if she had been waiting for me. I froze. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but I couldn't leave. I had come too far. Leela's voice cut through the silence. I wondered when you'd arrive. Did you really think you could sneak in here unnoticed? I clenched my fists. Let him go, Leela. This ends now. She laughed softly, almost mockingly. You still don't understand. Alex belongs to me, always has, always will. And you're just a distraction. I swallowed my fear. He's not yours, and I'm taking him back. For a moment, neither of us moved. Just the wind and the distant calls of birds. The tension was so thick it could be sliced with a knife. I realized then that Leela's power wasn't just psychological. She had built traps, manipulated people, created an invisible cage around Alex. And now, to save him, I would have to confront her completely, risking everything. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my shaking hands. I don't care what you've done, Leela. I'm getting him out. And if I have to fight you to do it, I will. Her eyes glinted. Good. I was hoping you'd say that. It'll make the game more interesting. I didn't know if I would survive what came next, but one thing was certain. I was closer to Alex than I had ever been, and I couldn't turn back now. The real danger was about to begin. I stepped into the clearing, heart pounding like a drum. Leela stood perfectly still, her eyes fixed on me, as if she had been expecting every move I was about to make. Alex was nowhere in sight. I assumed she had hidden him inside the cabin. Leela, I called, trying to sound confident despite the fear tightening my chest. This ends today. Let him go. She tilted her head, a small, almost amused smile on her lips. Let him go? Marissa, you've misunderstood everything. He's not mine to let go. He's complicated. He belongs to no one. I clenched my fists. Then why is he hiding? Why has he disappeared for months? Her smile widened. Because I made him. Because I had to protect him. And you're here thinking you can save him? You don't even know the half of it. Every nerve in my body screamed that I needed to act. I moved closer to the cabin, careful to stay hidden behind trees and rocks. Leela followed, almost casually, like this was a game. I spotted a window cracked open, Alex's silhouette inside. Relief and anger surged together. He was alive, but scared, tired, trapped. Alex, I whispered, and he glanced up, eyes wide with recognition and disbelief. I signaled for him to be quiet. I'm getting you out, I mouthed, but Leela noticed. She stepped closer, voice calm but threatening. Do you really think it's that simple? He can't just walk away. Every step he takes, I know. Every move, I control. You're walking into my world, and you have no idea how dangerous it is. I swallowed hard. I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes. Suddenly, the cabin door creaked open, and Alex stepped out. His eyes were filled with conflict, fear, and relief all at once. Marissa, you shouldn't be here. I couldn't. Stay away, I said. I'm getting you out of this. Leela's gaze flicked between us. So brave, so reckless. She took a step forward, and in that instant, I realized she had something in her hand, a small device, maybe a taser, or a stun gun. My pulse skyrocketed, but Alex acted before I could even react. He stepped in front of me. She's not worth it. She's nothing compared to us. Just trust me. The tension was unbearable. I could see the struggle in his eyes, the fight to stand up to Leela, the fear of what she might do if he disobeyed. Alex, listen to me, I said, trying to steady my voice. We can leave together. We can finally be free. For a tense moment, nothing moved. Then slowly, Alex nodded. The smallest gesture, but it was everything. I grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the trees. Leela's voice cut through the air like ice. You think you can escape me? This isn't over. We ran, hearts pounding, branches whipping against our faces. The cabin disappeared behind us, but the feeling of danger was still there. Heavy, suffocating, inevitable. Finally, after what felt like hours, we stopped in a secluded spot near the river. Alex leaned against a tree, gasping, sweat and tears mixing on his face. I thought I'd never see you again, he said, voice trembling. I'm here, I whispered. And I'm not leaving you. Not now, not ever. We stayed like that, holding each other, knowing the worst might not be over. But for the first time in months, I felt hope because we were together. And nothing, not Leela, not fear, not the past could take that away. We didn't have time to rest. The moment we thought we were safe, Leela's presence reminded us that we weren't. We ran through the forest, branches scratching at our faces, the wind cutting cold across our skin. Every step Alex and I took was calculated, trying to put distance between us and her. But deep down, I knew she would never give up. As we rounded a bend, Alex stopped suddenly. Wait, he whispered, pressing me against a tree. I felt the urgency in his eyes. What is it? I asked. He shook his head. I just realized. Everything she did, everything she controlled, it wasn't just about power. She was hiding something bigger, something I've never admitted. Not to you, not to anyone. My stomach sank. What do you mean? He took a deep breath, voice trembling. She's connected to the people who hurt my family. The people I told you I never wanted to get involved with. Leela, she was their eyes, their hand in my life. She manipulated me to protect me, or at least that's what she claimed. But really, she was making sure I never exposed them. And when I tried to break free, she made sure I would pay the price. I could barely process it. The danger wasn't personal between us and her, it was connected to something bigger, something deadly. Then we heard the snapping of twigs. She was close, too close. Alex grabbed my hand. We have to move, now. We sprinted, zigzagging, through the forest to avoid her line of sight. Every step, every breath was a gamble. Then, we reached a clearing where the old abandoned warehouse stood, a place Alex had mentioned years ago as a safe hideout he once used for school projects. We ran inside, hearts pounding, slamming the door shut behind us. For a moment, it felt like we could breathe, but I knew it was temporary. Alex leaned against a wall, trembling. I never wanted you to know all of this. I wanted to protect you. I shook my head. No, I needed to know, and we'll face this together. Suddenly, the sound of glass shattering echoed from outside. She had found us. Leela was relentless. I grabbed the first heavy object I could find, a metal pipe, and Alex grabbed a chair. We were unprepared, scared, but ready to fight for our freedom. Through the broken window, I saw her eyes, cold, calculating, unyielding. You can't escape, she called. Alex stepped in front of me, protective as ever. We'll see about that. The next moment's blurred movements, shouts, the echo of our heartbeats mixing with the tension. Every instinct screamed that one wrong move could be fatal. But in that chaos, Alex revealed something crucial, a hidden passage in the warehouse, something he had found months ago but never told anyone. Through here, he whispered, we can get out. Follow me. We ran, crawling through the darkness, the sound of Leela's anger and pursuit fading behind us. When we finally emerged outside, gasping for air, the forest stretched ahead. We were not safe yet, but for the first time, I felt a glimmer of hope. Alex looked at me, his eyes fierce and determined. I've kept you in the dark too long, but now, we take back control. No more games, no more lies. And in that moment, amidst fear and adrenaline, I knew whatever came next, we faced it together. We had barely caught our breath when the forest around us seemed to shift. Every sound was magnified, a snapping twig, the rustle of leaves, the whisper of wind. And then it happened. Alex let out a sharp cry. I spun around just in time to see him collapse, clutching his leg. My heart stopped. Alex, what happened? I shouted, rushing to him. A dark figure slipped between the trees. Leela. She hadn't been following openly. She had set a trap. Something had fallen from the branches above, a hidden pulley rig snapping down and hitting Alex's leg. He grimaced, pain etched across his face. It's my leg, he gasped. I think it's broken. I froze for a split second. Panic rose like fire, but I knew hesitation could get us killed. Leela was advancing, eyes cold, calculating every move. Stay with me, I yelled, grabbing his shoulders. We're getting out of here. He shook his head weakly. I can't walk, not like this. My mind raced. I scanned the surroundings, spotting a fallen tree with a large branch. "Hold on," I said, fashioning an improvised crutch. I helped him lean on it, supporting most of his weight. His face was pale, sweat and blood mingling, but his eyes held determination. Leela's voice cut through the air. "You really think a little injury will stop me?" I swallowed hard. "It won't, but it will slow her down long enough for us to escape." We moved slowly, through the underbrush. Every step was agony for Alex, but he refused to collapse. I kept one eye on the trees, ready for another ambush. Halfway through the clearing, Alex tripped over a root. I caught him just in time, pulling him to a sitting position. He panted, gritting his teeth against the pain. "You're incredible," he muttered, a weak but determined smile forming. "I don't deserve you." I shook my head fiercely. "Don't talk. Just focus on surviving. That's all that matters." The sound of Leela's boots on dry leaves drew closer. She was relentless. My heart pounded like a drum. The reality of our situation hit me with terrifying clarity. If we didn't find a way out, this could end here. I spotted a small creek running parallel to our path. "Water," I said, realizing we could use it as cover. The sound might mask our movements, and the terrain was tricky enough that she might lose sight of us. With careful coordination, I helped Alex move along the creek, slipping, sliding, holding him steady. Every second was a gamble. Every noise could alert her. Finally, after what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, we reached a denser part of the forest. The shadows were deeper, the undergrowth thicker, a perfect cover. We sank behind a large boulder, gasping, hearts racing. Alex leaned against me, exhaustion and pain etched into every line of his face. I don't know how much longer I can keep going like this," he admitted. "You'll keep going," I said firmly, squeezing his hand. "We'll make it, together, no matter what." And for the first time, amid the fear and pain, I felt an odd surge of hope. We had survived the first major test, but I knew the ultimate confrontation was still ahead. Leela was far from finished, and the final battle was approaching faster than either of us expected. After the creek, we stumbled into a small, abandoned hunting cabin tucked between dense trees. The roof had holes, and the windows were cracked, but it was hidden enough to give us a moment to breathe. Alex collapsed onto the dusty floor, wincing with every movement. I sat beside him, pressing a cold cloth to his leg. "This is as good as it gets for now," I muttered, scanning the surroundings. "We need to figure out how to stop her." He nodded, breathing heavily. "She knows our patterns. She's always one step ahead. But we have the advantage now. She doesn't know where we are." I drew a shaky breath. "We need a plan. We can't just run anymore. It's time to end this." Alex looked at me, eyes filled with determination despite the pain. "Together." I nodded. Together. The cabin was dim and cold, but it felt like the only place in the world where we could strategize. Every second counted. Leela's shadow was never far, and we knew the final confrontation was coming. Whether we were ready or not, the cabin became our command center. We spread out every scrap of evidence Alex had saved: photos, letters, notes. Each piece revealed a little more of Leela's methods, her manipulations, her patterns. Alex's leg was still in pain, but he refused to sit idly. "We know how she operates. We know what she wants. We can turn it against her," he said, eyes sharp and determined. I checked the perimeter repeatedly, imagining every possible entry point she could use. We devised a plan to lure her into a controlled area where we could confront her safely. It was risky, but it was our only option. As night fell, we rehearsed scenarios in whispers, mapped escape routes, and steeled ourselves mentally. Fear was present, but it was mingled with determination. We were ready to face her, no matter the cost. For the first time in months, Alex looked at me with a calmness that broke through the chaos. "No matter what happens, we do this together," he said. I nodded. Together. The night was dark and silent as we approached the clearing where we would face her. Every rustle of leaves, every distant sound put our nerves on edge. Leela appeared almost immediately, emerging from the shadows. Her eyes glinted with malice, her movements precise. "You think you can end this?" she sneered. Alex stepped forward, limping slightly but standing tall. "It ends tonight," he said firmly. The confrontation was intense: words, threats, and psychological warfare as she tried to regain control. But we were prepared. Every trap she set, every manipulation, we had anticipated. Then, in a sudden and brutal move, Leela lunged at me. Time slowed. Alex reacted instinctively, pushing me out of harm's way. She hit him instead. Alex, I screamed, rushing to him. He was on the ground, pain etched into every line of his face. He tried to smile at me weakly. I got you. I shook my head, tears streaming. Don't leave me. He grasped my hand, strength fading. You have to live free without me. Leela froze for a moment, realizing her control was finally broken. Sirens from nearby authorities tipped off by the evidence we had collected approached, forcing her to retreat. I held Alex as he took his final breath, feeling the weight of loss crash down. The world seemed to blur around me, but a single thought pierced through the pain. He had saved me. He had loved me fully, selfless. In the aftermath, I stood at the edge of the forest, looking at the sky. Leela was gone, captured, but the cost had been immense. I carried Alex's memory, his courage, his love with me, and though he was gone, I knew his sacrifice would never be forgotten.
Subscribe to the channel and like this video.